smarts and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Donji Corleone here, and I'm here with a new kind of video series. Because you all know, for this one, I've decided to come up with a new series. And it's going to be for pretty much where I discuss 3 movies, or 3 certain, it's pretty much going to be mostly sequels I discuss for this series, but it's going to be a debate series. It'll be So there will be certain sequels from a franchise I don't like. And for the first episode, it's going to be 3 bad sequels from a comedy franchise. One was a second sequel to a film that should have stayed standalone. One was a third so-called comedy sequel that turned out to be an insult to its franchise. And one was just a recently released sequel that had come out this month. It was a 4th entry. First two of this video are 3rd entries. The other one is a 4th entry. And it was the most recent of the 3. So I'll do like what was released first, then what was released after, and then what was released recently. So anyway, episode 1 of this debate series is going to be for the 3 sequels that will be for this video will be... Alright. 3 comedy franchises, they'll be... The 3 bad sequels for this episode are... The Hangover Part 3 versus Clerks 3 and versus Bad Boys Ride or Die. Yeah. That's going to be this whole debate series. This is going to be the first episode for this debate series. So, starting that off, let's start off with which of the 3 was obviously released first. And that was 2013's The Hangover Part 3. Hell, if I could include both Part 2 and Part 3 on this list, like, they're both pretty bad. I mean, now, this one, obviously, all 3 of these movies I'm discussing are pretty bad films, but this one is an obvious lose. Because, for one, when you look at The Hangover was a movie that had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a great comedy movie, but it sure as shit wasn't a franchise starter. It sure as shit wasn't even intended to start a franchise in the first place. At all. Like, the writers, when they wrote The Hangover, the original film's writers just wanted one comedy movie. They just wanted one funny movie that would be a massive standout to close off the 2000s decade, and they wanted to move on to other things after that. Just one comedy movie, and that was it. But because The Hangover 1 made so much money, Todd Phillips... I like Joker, but there's times when I think Todd Phillips can be sometimes a fucking idiot. And that comes to when it comes to making these 2 sequels. It's clear that the original film's writers knew what comedy was. Todd Phillips, on the other hand, clearly did not when doing these 2 sequels. Or the new writers he got, because the original writers didn't want to come back for plenty of good reasons. But Todd Phillips was clearly like, I want The Hangover to have sequels. This movie made money. The original film's writers. But we don't want sequels of The Hangover. We just want one comedy movie. We never intended any franchise. Well, then get the fuck out of my sight. So I'll just get some new writers to do the work for me. Yeah, so 2 new writers that clearly don't know a thing about comedy and clearly think mean stuff is funny. So yeah, we had The Hangover Part 2 2 years later. All that was the same movie set in Bangkok of all places. Apparently Bangkok is a pretty place. I don't mind setting it in a foreign location. Okay? There's plenty of beautiful areas in Bangkok. Like, Or hell, like, instead of that area, you could have said it like maybe Tokyo. If you really wanted to do a new foreign location, you could have picked like Florida or Mexico or Tokyo. If you really wanted to go foreign with the sequel, if you were just going to do the same movie, you could have picked you could have picked one of those beautiful locations. Like, you could have picked somewhere more tropical. You could have picked that area. Or you could have really just been set on the very beautiful side of Thailand where they start off. You could have been in a beautiful city in Thailand. You didn't have to be in like a dirty side just to show that your movie's more darker and more raunchy. But yeah, literally, it does everything the first film does, and it does it wrong. Yeah, you know when Alan screwed up and drugged their drinks with the roofies because he thought it was ecstasy? That was by fucking accident. He meant to put ecstasy in there just so his buddies would have a fun night. He never intended the wrong drug to go there in the first place. That was actually funny, and that was done for comedy. Yeah, Alan was stupid in the first film, but except his little screw-ups were actually done for laughs. He screws up in part 2, and this time he does it on fucking purpose. You wanna know what he does this time? Literally, him and his friends he's mad that the in-laws with them, and so he decides to bring these 2 marshmallows to the campfire. But the thing is, he has one bag he literally drugs with the medication he has, puts them in the marshmallows, does them separately for the in-law, so that he would basically just so the in-law wouldn't be a part of their nights. Yeah, and so, but because that screws up, obviously, him and his friends take the marshmallows instead. And so, yeah, they have another hangover. And there's worse outcomes here. They get an old guy arrested. Ed Helms' character basically gets raped by a ladyboy. And that's supposed to be funny, apparently. Hell, the in-law loses his fucking finger. And that's supposed to be a funny thing. And that's supposed to be so awesome. He had a night of his life and he lost a finger. And now he can't be a doctor. What a great ending. Perfect ending. Yeah. And this is supposed to be like rewardable things. And the worst thing is, Alan gets easily fucking... After they briefly get mad at him and they easily fucking forgive him for this. No, fuck that. Alan should went to fucking jail. Yeah, him drugging a minor with spiked marshmallows. I'll get to what that's revealed in the third one in a bit, but yeah, drug a minor on purpose with marshmallows should be enough to get his ass sent to jail. Doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if you don't like this guy or not. If you like this guy or you don't. The in-law's required to be at your friend's wedding. It's not yours. That's your friend's in-law is required to attend a wedding that's literally his family members because basically Ed Helms' character is getting married to Jamie Chun's character, and that's the in-law's sister, and that's his future in-law's sister. So he has to be there. He's family, you dumbass. Yeah, like the thing is, both these sequels make Alan worse. Okay, that's part 2. Part 2, like the difference is though, I'd watch part 2 over the one that comes after it because the reason why it's not being a part of this debate is because the next sequel is worse. The thing is, like, part 2 is just a gross, unfunny rehash, but the difference is Ken Jeon's scenes are the few funny stuff that comes out of the movie. Alright? Those bits, I'll admit, are funny. His scenes were at least were the few saving graces of the film. Like, and yeah, so the next movie is worse. And that's where you get The Hangover Part 3. The difference with the 3 I'm actually supposed to be talking about in this debate is that, well, Part 3 was already bound to be bad. Part 2 wasn't good because it wasn't needed. Part 3, like, just from the trailers, this movie was already going to be bad. So it's an obvious lose. That brings us to Part 3. The reason why it's worse is because, yeah, it doesn't rehash the first film, it does something different, and it has them, like, I guess it has somewhat of a nice concept for a sequel, them dealing with the aftermath of the first film, That could have worked. That could have actually worked. But the problem is, it feels like a dark thriller movie. Instead, it's not, there's nothing funny in this movie. It feels too much like a thriller. Hell, this movie literally starts off like, if you guys hated Alan in part 2, well and if this movie's supposed to be Alan's redemption, and where he finally grows up, well guess what? They already fucked that chance in the beginning, because guess what? The very first time you see Alan in the movie, he buys a giraffe. And guess what, guys? He drives it under a bridge and cuts its CGI fucking head off. And it goes into a family's windshield and it causes a big crash that kills and injures a bunch of people. Ha 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 ha. Get it? That's so fucking funny, right? Todd Phillips thinks that's fucking funny, clearly. And then pretty much, his dad is mad at him in the incident, but Alan's like, I don't give a fuck, whatever. When's dinner gonna happen? Like, and that just pisses his father off more. And while his father's ranting about how his son is making such foolish decisions, and Alan just puts his headphones on and clearly doesn't give a fuck. His dad then passes out from a heart attack, so in a way, Alan pretty much caused his own father's death. And that's not all. And then at the funeral, the first thing he says, I wish my mother died instead. This movie's supposed to redeem him? Then why is he already being in it? Why is he already being as big of an asshole he was in part 2? Wishing his own mother died first? We're just supposed to suddenly like this guy now again? I fucking don't! They already fucked over any chances of redemption for this character immediately in those first minutes. So yeah, then the next bit's just not funny because then you meet that, remember that line, damn, Marshall's gonna be pissed off with me on that one from Black Doug in the first film? Well, that character is here, and he's played by John Goodman in a wasted role. John Goodman did fine for what he was given with, but they wasted his character because he's hardly in the film, and I'm surprised, I don't know why, John Goodman's a pretty great actor, I don't know why he'd want to be in a trash comedy movie like this. Robert Downey Jr. was going to play Marshall originally, but he clearly didn't want to be in this trash, so he backed out. And honestly, I don't blame him for backing out. I don't blame him for backing out. I probably would too if I got offered a shitty Hangover sequel. I'm not starring this shit. I'm out of here. Yeah, and actually wisely went back to go play Iron Man and actually enjoyable stuff. So this time, Marshall and this man kidnap Doug, and they'll kill, because this is a comedy movie, they say they'll kill him if they fail to find Chow. Yeah, that's a great plot for a comedy movie. This just feels like a Taken sequel. Already, just slap the hangover on so people will go see the movie. Guess what, guys? When the movie came out, nobody went and saw it. Nobody. Because people didn't like part 2. Why the hell would they go watch part 3 if they didn't even like part 2? Part 2 made money because, the first film was good, and people thought maybe this would be good even though it was already looked like the same as the first film. Then they didn't like part 2, and they saw part 3 was being made. We're not watching that. Part 2 sucked. We're not going to care. And it's the last one they're going to do anyway, so why should we bother? Yeah. This was but yeah. And so, then the trio meet Chow again, and then he tricks them into going to take back gold from an unnamed house. They drug, the 2 guard dogs with spiked Wendy's burgers. But Chow double-crosses them, leaves their asses to get arrested. But of course, Marshall bails them out, and we find out that was actually John Goodman's house they stole from. And the worst part is, he's mad at them that they killed his dogs. They're we drugged the dogs with the burgers. We didn't kill them. And then of course, Marshall realizes that they don't remember. And that they were trapped, obviously knows they were trapped in the house. Chow apparently, when he was walking out, guess what? Chow killed the 2 dogs, and he snapped their necks. Yeah, one of the funniest characters of the first 2 films is now also ruined in this movie. Right there. they made him an asshole too. Granted, he wasn't really a good guy to begin with, but he was actually a funny bad guy. Here he's just an unpleasant bad guy. So yeah, we get another death scene. He kills Black Dog. Yeah, I thought this, yeah, once again, how is any of this comedy? How is any of this supposed to be funny? I thought Hangover was a comedy franchise, and you're clearly not being a comedy. Why you have a bunch of deaths? Yeah, 2 death scenes now. But then, like, so they get the limo to go find Chow again. Then they get a little tip from the stripper from the first film. And then, like, Alan then has this brief moment with the now 4-year-old aged baby from the first film, who they nicknamed Carlos. And Alan pretty much, at the same time, realizes he let his father down. But then the boy asks, "Are you my dad?" And, like, Alan, you think Alan would say, "No, I'm not." He literally says yes. So, yeah, and then he just screws with the child's sanity, pretty much now. He's going to question who his real dad is. So they don't even, so yeah, the movie, Todd Phillips doesn't even try to make Alan more redeemable at all. Like, yeah, you have him realizing he let his father down, but then he screws with a child's sanity. He pretty much screws with a child's mind. And then they get back to Caesar's Palace, and right there, the reason why I put this above the next movie I'm going to talk about is because there was one scene in here I thought was kind of cool. It's when Stu and Alan are going through the Caesar's Palace room that Chow's supposed to be in, and they got Black Sabbath, the Black Sabbath song, "Some People Say My Love," playing in the background, and with the strobe lights and the room, and I'll admit that was kind of a cool bit. Unfortunately, it belongs in a shitty movie. I wish this was in an actually good comedy movie. If this was an actually good comedy sequel, then maybe I'd like it a little more. It was a kind of a cool scene. That's one scene I'll give a pass in the movie for. I don't mind being darker, but the difference is still be a comedy movie. Okay, Home Alone 2 was a darker sequel. It was still a comedy, though, and it didn't involve killing a bunch of people. It was still a funny movie, and it was still actually good and well written and directed. That's the thing, though. This film, there was nothing funny at all. Whatsoever. And they want you to think it's a comedy, and it just comes off as just a wannabe Taken movie with the wolf pack in it. But yeah, they managed to finally get Chow after a boring, long-ass 5-minute scene of him parachuting all the way through Las Vegas, yelling how much he loves cocaine and singing "I Believe I Could Fly," which we have to see the ship for 5 minutes before they finally catch Chow. Then they bring him to John Goodman. But, like, John Goodman promises he's not going to hurt him, but he shoots the trunk, which honestly, after how much of an asshole Chow was, I was kind of hoping John Goodman would win in that bit. Especially after he snapped 2 dogs' necks. But of course, apparently Alan saved Chow's life because he's not in the trunk, and so Chow pretty much shoots both Marshall and his bodyguard anticlimactically. And then he's about to shoot the wolf pack, but then Alan pretty much steps in and says, "No, you shoot them, you shoot through me." And then he renounces their friendship, and they go off. But there was this pawn shop owner that was played by Melissa McCarthy, of course, because Melissa McCarthy was getting a lot of popularity around this time. Oh my god. Yeah, this unfunny chick. Yeah, another bad problem is that this really unfunny chick appears in the... Yeah, that unfunny chick appears from the Ghostbusters remake is in this film. Yeah, then her and Alan fall in love, and then it ends with them getting married. But then, guess what, guys? It ends with a 4-film setup that you're never going to get. They get another hangover. Now Stu wakes up with boobies. Then Al realizes the wedding cake was from Chow. And then the drug-dealing monkey from the second film jumps on Stu's shoulder, and the movie is... And that's how the franchise fucking ends. Another hangover happened, and you're not going to see it get resolved. Because this was the last one. If this was the last one, this better be the fucking last one they do. Yeah, the one time they have a hangover is the very end, and it never got resolved. Because they're not making a 4th one, and I hope the sure shit they don't. So yeah, Hangover 3, already obvious lose. But there's one scene I liked. There was one scene in the finale I liked, and that was the Caesar's Palestine. So, and that was just bound to be bad to begin with. The next movie I'm talking about is the most insulting spit in the face to me. Clerks 3 is our next one, and this is a bottom of these three. Very bottom. This was also not a funny movie. This was basically this was not even a sequel to Clerks 2. This was just a funeral for the Clerks franchise. A 2-hour-long, unfunny funeral. All because of Kevin Smith just wasting his life smoking a bunch of fucking pot. And like getting all sad because Zack and Miri failed. I'm happy he survived his heart attack. Now, don't get me wrong. But this was around the time when Kevin Smith had lost people's respect. He made the shitty He-Man cartoon and he bashed fans for it. He made shitty stuff like Yoga Hosers, Tusk, Jane Silent Bob Reboot, Cop Out. Yeah, that film we did with Bruce Willis, and him and Bruce Willis didn't get along. But to be honest, I honestly don't really blame Bruce Willis for not getting along with Kevin Smith. Kira, because having to star in a shitty comedy like Cop Out, yeah, and having to work with actor Tracy Morgan as your partner, yeah, I don't blame Bruce Willis for not getting along with Kevin Smith. That's not a shock. To be fair, I'm more on Bruce Willis' side at that point. More than Smith's. But yeah, there's the thing though. When he had Clerks 1 and Clerks 2, like Clerks 1 is my favorite comedy movie of all time. That was a film that resonated with me during my college years. It's a film I can relate to because I work in the retail industry like Dante Randall do. It's a film I can definitely relate to a lot. And then you have Clerks 2. It's not as good as the first film, but it was still a great comedy sequel, especially for a sequel that came out 11 years after the first film. And that brings us to Clerks 3. This was right after he did Jane Silent Bob Reboot. At first, Clerks 3 was already planned for a long time, but Jeff Anderson didn't want to come back for the role, so Smith had to scrap it. But some weird reason, I can bet you Kevin Smith must have bribed Jeff Anderson into coming back. I can bet you he probably did a money bribe so he would come back and so he could still do Clerks 3. Now the saddest thing is, I may sound like an idiot for saying this, but I was one of the few people that wanted a Clerks 3. But I sure shit didn't want a funeral. I wanted an actually funny Clerks 3. That was actually a comedy film. One that did not fuck over Clerks 2. Okay, I wanted to see how Randall and Dante would get through the streaming era or stuff, or how they probably thought about either the DCU or the MCU. All the superhero movies that were coming out, Clerks 1 dealt with, Star Wars. Clerks 2 had, topics of which franchise, either Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, was better. I wanted to see that be the debate in Clerks 3. Which cinematic universe was better? That's the stuff I wanted in Clerks 3. I want to see a film about Dante being a dad. And raising his new daughter. In a way. And, hell. The idea of Randall making a movie about their lives seems like a nice concept, but if it was about them making a movie to be able to save the Quick Stop from closing down, that would be slightly better. And if it was still a comedy movie, you can be a little depressing at times, but still be a comedy. Okay? I don't mind being depressing at times, as long as you're still funny. How Toy Story 3 was a depressing finale, and it was still a family comedy movie. Okay? It still had funny bits. It was still a family movie. This movie, on the other hand, like Hangover 3, there's nothing funny in this film. Guess what, guys? How Clerks 3 starts. When we finally get a Clerks 3, and this is the result we get. How we start off Clerks 3 even. The movie starts off with the reveal. Guess what? Remember Rosario Dawson's character from Clerks 2? Her unborn baby died in a car crash around the time the credits of Clerks 2 were rolling. Yeah, that's already one big massive piss off. That pissed me off a lot to hear. And and when I found that, I was like, wow, no wonder some people weren't excited for this. I should have listened to their warnings. And the movie did not get better at all. Like, then we start off because, like, the plot was going to be Randall having a heart attack because Kevin Smith based this off his near fatal heart attack. And so Randall gets his heart attack, and then Elias becomes a Satanist, and he has this Silent Bob ripoff called Blockchain, which is just an excuse for Kevin Smith to throw in crypto jokes, like crypto kites that we have to hear throughout the film. And then we have to hear this unfunny gag about butt thieves. Yeah, butt thieves was not funny at all. And I don't want to hear dumb jokes about crypto kites in a Clerks movie. When I watch a Clerks movie, I want to see more of like Dante and Randall, not Elias. Not annoying Elias. He's tolerable in Clerks 2. He's annoying as fuck in this movie. Then he's at that. So Randall's, we all know Randall survives his heart attack, and so he gets the idea to make the movie. The difference is, though, all we're seeing is just him recreating scenes from the first movie. And some bits from the second film. Right there. You're recreating the salsa shark. You're recreating the "this is the last time I rent here" scene, which was actually funny in the first film. You're like recreating the "I'm not supposed to be here today" lines, and like you're getting cameos from like Justin Law making a fool of himself, weird cameos from Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. Yeah, like wasting Emmy Sedaris from both. Yeah, Princess Carolyn, you're wasting her actress as dressing up as a witch, as like this witch nurse. They even warns Dante that he should get his heart checked out too. I'll get to that in a bit. Yeah, then like while they're making the movie, Randall becomes, you know how like Randall was an asshole in 1 and 2, but like the difference is like he's just a shitty friend, and like he's still an actually proper friend at times, and his asshole stuff in 1 and 2 is actually funny. Like when he's not helping that lady customer in Clerks 1, that's a funny asshole thing. Or the porch part or the porch M part with Wanda Sykes. That's a funny asshole bit. Alright? 1 and 2, like, he was still a good friend with Dante, and he had that donkey show because it was a going away gift for Dante. And there's times when even Randall was actually more smarter than Dante. When he called out like Dante for putting himself into his own mess in the first film at the end. Like, yeah, like where he's telling Dante to blame himself. And then Clerks 2, when they're like sitting in the holding cell after the whole donkey show thing, you get this like, you find out like why he's kind of most of the time upset throughout the film. He's afraid of losing Dante. Because like, yeah, you could tell he really cared about his friend Dante. Like, that was the point of Clerks 2. It showed like, it definitely showed Randall finally opening himself up. And that was when him and Dante realized working at the Quick Stop was actually not as bad of a time as they thought. Right there. And it had the message that you don't need to be like everyone else to be happy. That was the point of the ending of Clerks 2. Whatever you do makes you happy is what you should do. Whatever thing you did makes you happy, that's what matters. And Dante's going to be a dad at the end of the Clerks 2. They're reopening the Quick Stop. And like Randall jokingly tells him the very last shot, you know what? You're not even supposed to be here today. And Dante remembers all those bits and he smiles at that. Like Dante's finally happy here. And then you had that quote, can you feel it? Today's the first day of the rest of our lives. And I realized that was the perfect quote to close out the Clerks franchise. Guess what? Next movie, that's ripped all away from Dante. And then you get an overlawn scene at a grave where apparently Dante wasted 15 years of his life mourning Becky. And like Ghost of Becky was trying to get him to move on, to stop mourning her already. Like instead of, yeah. And guess what? Veronica from the first film, she's back. And like that could have been potential to give Dante a happy ending again, and then have him and Veronica hook up then. If you really wanted to do that, you could have still given Dante somewhat of a happy ending. No. She's wasted too. And now back to Randall. Unlike the funny asshole he is in Clerks 1 and 2, he's just an unlikable asshole in this movie. As the movie progresses, he becomes more and more of a piece of shit. To the point where he even treats his own friend Dante like shit. And this is stuff like first 2 films Randall would never do. There's one scene where even his first 2 film self would never be this douchey to say, Dante, like, they're about to go through the donkey show scene, but Dante doesn't want to do it, so he runs off, even though the Becky ghost wife tells him to, and he comes back all drunk, and so Randall pulls him to the cooler. It's like, I get that was a big moment for you, but you just take off and couldn't even shoot my shitty donkey show recreation? How about you try thinking of something other than your fucking self? Dante got you the money for your movie. Throughout the movie, he was doing most of the work. Yeah, Dante was doing more work than your lazy ass was. How is he thinking of himself? That's a place that reminds him of his dead wife. I thought you were supposed to be this guy's friend. Now, how would you get out there and try to act like you've been helpful in my movie for once, which he's been doing throughout the whole thing? And so, yeah, that pretty much, then they go film the salsa shark scene, and Dante just snaps, like, yells at Randall finally, like, after how much of a piece of shit he's been throughout the movie. Right there, and then, like, after a long, very long argument they've had, Dante then passes out from a heart attack. And then you get another asshole scene at the hospital, where Elias is like, see, your friend's in the hospital. Who cares about your dumb movie getting made? And Randall's like, it's just a heart attack. He'll be fine. I've had one before. That doesn't mean it's going to apply to everybody else. Just because you had one and got lucky. Doesn't mean like your own friend's just going to magically get lucky. Like, even Elias gives Randall a well-deserved fuck you to him. And he reveals, like, Becky, like, no, not Becky. I mean, Dante got the money from Emma to make your shitty movie. And then Randall finally realizes what an asshole he's been. Not because he treated his friend like shit, not because he gave his friend a heart attack, but he got me money for my movie. Dante, I didn't know. Dante, I just found out you got money for my movie. I didn't know. Who fucking cares? I should have been Dante. I shouldn't have been so selfish. No. Instead, he's like more. He only realizes this because he got him money for his dumbass recreation of the first Clerks. So then, Randall still doesn't apologize for being a piece of shit. Like, he breaks into the hospital, uses two former convicted felons who are Jay and Silent Bob, who have gotten arrested several times, to help him break into the hospital so he can show Dante his movie. Instead, this time he just edited it. He just edited it to make Dante the main character. And all we see, we then see flashback scenes from the first Clerks and Dante in a movie theater with his ghost wife Becky, and then he decides to leave and not see the ending. He's like, I trust the director. He wasn't just my favorite filmmaker. He was my best friend. How do you still trust this guy? This guy treated you like garbage, and this guy gave you a heart attack earlier. How is this guy even a friend to you at this rate? So they leave, and then Dante dies! This was the biggest piss-off moment in Clerks 3. Yeah. We already killing Becky and the unborn baby wasn't enough. Let's kill Dante. Yeah. The first time a comedy franchise kills off a lead character. Let's kill him off. It's a great idea. And then guess what? At the funeral, the party thing Randall literally says is, you're not even supposed to be here today. Fuck this bullshit, man. Yeah, and then, they even shit on The Departed. Yeah, they even shit on they even shit on one of my favorite films of the 2000s. They shit on the ending scene of The Departed because of the rat. The movie was pretty perfect until that stupid shot of the rat at the end. Yeah, they just had to piss me off. This has to piss me off more. Not only is this just an unfunny, depressing-ass funeral, in a way, and the movie just doesn't want to end because now we have to, because remember, Dante gave up his share quick stop to Emma. So she's like, if you guys can't pay me back, I own your store. Who cares if she buys a store or not? Just end this movie already. But then Blockchain finally speaks. We get the dumb Crypto Kites reference again. Oh my god. Yeah, more stupid crypto again. Because I want to see crypto in a Clerks movie. Which I don't. And then here's your money. Now get the hell out of our store so we can continue to be lazy losers. And waste our lives away. And so she leaves the store with her earnings. And so the four go out. So yeah, it's Jay, Sal, Bob, Blockchain, and Elias go out to fly the kites. And I forgot to mention, Elias is going to be Randall's new friend now. And Randall's just behind the counter I wish you were here, man. And then you see the ghost of Dante just standing behind the counter. And One reviewer even said it best. Like, this is not heaven for Dante. This is hell. Like, there's one YouTuber I like literally said this is hell for Dante. And it definitely is. Standing by an encounter of the life he hated. Yeah, like, now I can see why people didn't want Clerks 3, and I should have listened to them. I was so stupid to be excited for this. So yeah, this is the bottom of the three I'm talking about in this video. This would be the bottom of the barrel for me. Easily the worst of the three. Hangover Part 3 was already predicted to be bad. This was just a fucking middle finger to Clerks 2. Like, Clerks 2 was actually a nice ending. Now they realize that Clerks 2 is a terrific way to end it. Dante's going to become a father. He now owns his own version of the Quick Stop now. He's the new owner of it. Jay and Silent Bob get to now be in front of the store they want. Like, Elias is now going to be owning RST Video. Dante Randall will be owning the Quick Stop area. And Dante's finally feeling some happiness here. Dante is finally happy now. He got his happy ending Clerks 2. And then he had, like, let me see misery, we can start a company, playing in the background. And you have, like, cameo for Kevin Smith's mom sorting through the milk. Right there. That was a perfect spot to end it. It goes back to black and white, kind of like how it all book ends. Like, it started black and white, it ends in black and white. It was a nice way to wrap things up. It was a nice way to wrap up Kevin Smith's career. Like, Kevin Smith should have retired after Clerks 2. But because he thought he could be part of the big leagues, he made Zack and Miri make a porno. Release it during Halloween was a smart time when people want to watch horror movies. That was a great time to release it. It bombed, and so Kevin Smith just was so depressed about that, he resorted to smoking a bunch of pots. And crying to trailers now. And they even reused the milk scene from Clerks 2 and Clerks 3, except now it's his daughter sorting through the milk. Yeah, his daughter character from Jane Silent Bob reboots. Yeah, but honestly though, Clerks 3, yeah. Clerks 3 would be the bottom of the barrel for all three of these shitty sequels. So yeah, Clerks 3, I put bottom dead last. It already automatically loses. Hangover Part 3, easily would be second place. It's also shitty, but I guess I would rather, if I had to be forced to sit through either Hangover 3 or Clerks 3, I guess I'd rather be forced to have to watch Hangover 3 than Clerks 3 any day. Hangover Part 3 was just predicted to be bad. Clerks 3 is a fucking insult. The Alien 3 of this era. Pretty much Alien 3 of this era. Alright, done talking about Clerks 3. Now we're on to the last of this. This is one that just came out this month. And like, this is one I did try to have excitement for, but now, this movie was bad. It's not as bad as the two I just talked about, but this one, on the other hand, was just lame. It was just unneeded. That is, of course, Bad Boys for Life. Yes, I don't like this fucking movie, okay? I don't. I don't like this film at all. I didn't like it. Tough. Not gonna like every single movie in a franchise. Here's the thing. I like Bad Boys for Life was a bit of a too late sequel, but that's a sequel that was a perfect way to end Bad Boys. Like, Marcus is now a grandfather. Like, him and Mike are now gonna manage their own little team, are now managing a team of rookies and stuff. Like, he's now gonna help his son Mike's gonna help his son redeem himself. That's a perfect spot to leave Bad Boys alone. Like, it's one of the few legacy sequels that worked. Now, granted, like, Bad Boys 1 is still the best one, easily. Bad Boys 2 was crazy over the top. Yeah, it's over 2.5 hours long, but it's not a boring 2.5 hours long. It's not just over filler like any sequels today. Then you got Bad Boys for Life, which I will admit was actually kind of surprising for a third entry and a way too damn late sequel. And that brings us to this. Here's the thing, though. This came out, like, around 2 years after the Slaphead diddle, and, like, Will refusing to leave Jada, were damaging Will's career, and Will was getting a lot of flops. Some people yeah, like the slap was wrong, but that was like people were still raving about that like a year ago after it happened. At least like Rock hasn't, I mean, Chris hasn't forgiven Will, but at least Will apologized for it. Yeah, like Will could have handled the joke better, but to be fair, like his wife is an absolute piece of crap. So honestly, I could care less if his wife gets insulted or not. Yeah, he does need to leave Jada. But that like, but then he got like so Will and Martin, because Martin Lawrence also has nothing in his career except for this franchise. Like almost every other movie he did after Bad Boys 2 sucked. College Road Trip sucked. Big Mama's House sequels both sucked. The first one isn't even good either. Don't like any of the Big Mama's House films. Like National Security with Steve Zahn sucked. Bad Boys is the only thing he really has that's even a moneymaker. So it's predictable they'd make a fourth one. And because Bad Boys for Life made money. So let's make a fourth one. And so, yeah. What do we get in this movie? We literally start off Bad Boys Ride or Die with, like, them going to a wedding, driving to Mike's wedding. But Marcus, like, drop me off at 7-Eleven, I need to get a ginger ale. Yeah. So he's, like, told to just get the ginger ale, but he doesn't. So he said he buys a hot dog and even some Skittles that he doesn't pay for, just eats them and, like, opens them before paying for them, like, oh, and there's a robbery that they do a horrible job trying to stop. And then they get to the wedding, and then Marcus, like Clerks with Randall, Marcus gets a heart attack, and he survives that. But the thing is, as soon as like he wakes up from his heart attack, he becomes a complete unfunny dumbass. First thing he does is go right to the roof of the hospital. We get a close up of the gown lifting up and showing his bare ass. Yeah, that's what I don't want to see in a Bad Boys movie, is Marcus acting like almost as much of a goof as SpongeBob or Patrick, and literally getting a close-up of his bare ass, and then unleashing this off-screen his dick to the whole world, then gets home, keeps going on more dumb junk food sprees, and then of course then they find out their dead captain is being framed for a bunch of drug crimes. And so they pretty much have to clear his name, and though they also become fugitives themselves. We get another club scene where Marcus still wants more junk food, like jelly beans, and then during the shootout there, he gets a black one. It's like, oh no, I got a black one. Like, oh my god, I don't care about your junk food frenzy. Like, what happened to Marcus? I thought Marcus was supposed to be the brains of the group, not the moron, not the goof. Like, yeah, the first two films, like, Marcus does some stupid things, but here's the thing, though. Those were at least unintentional. Like, and those were actually funny, stupid things he did. Like, he accidentally drank the ecstasy in Bad Boys 2. And that's actually funny. The meltdown he has on national television in Bad Boys 1, that's funny. Him going like, I want more of this junk food, I want these chips, I want these jelly beans. That's not funny. Alright? That's just you coming off almost coming off turning to Patrick from SpongeBob. Like, Marcus' first two films, Marcus would not be this stupid. Yeah, like, most of the film, it feels like it's more about Will's character. The thing, like, Bad Boys for Life at least felt like it was about both of them. They even rehash elements from Bad Boys for Life, and then, of course, even though him and his son clearly reconciled at the end of that movie, it seems like they're now just mad with each other again. Now, and then you meet Howard's bitchy wife who wants to kill Mike's son. And then, of course, the helicopter crash lands with the three. They're in the jungle. Yeah, because we need to see them in the jungle now. Like, yeah, almost in the jungle like fucking Jumanji. And after a while, they get back to town, and we get another lazy car chase with a fire cocktail. And then, like, Marcus accidentally fucks it up there, and yeah. And then we get some, like, more... Yeah, the action feels like literally Fast and Furious shit at this rate. And, like, the team, like, the Vanessa Hudgens and, like, other youngsters from the third one, they're back, and they're given nothing to do again. And then, of course, like, our finale. The finale of Bad Boys 1 was in an airport. The finale of Bad Boys 2 was in a fucking mansion all the way to a Guantanamo Bay landmine. The third one was in a hotel on fire. Our finale here is at a fucking alligator farm. Yeah, and like, when I watch, yeah, like, sir. The thing is, like, another thing I don't want to see in Bad Boys is, like, Mike suddenly like landing on a glass floor on his knee, somehow not even cutting his own knee. And then Marcus fucking it up further by jumping, and they smash and they fall into a pit with this Lake Placid-sized alligator, albino one, and Marcus tries to calm it down with his hand, but it predictably bites him, and so he's most of the time out of the finale. Yeah, like, I also don't want to see references to the slap. Yeah, then he also got Ian Grufford from the Fantastic Four movies making a fucking fool of himself with a shitty goatee, and then just getting thrown into the fucking gator pit. Yeah, like, literally, most of the bad guys here, they get chomped on by the gators, almost like the fucking Looney Tunes back-in-action video game with the crocodiles in the jungle ruins level. Yeah, that's what that also I don't want to watch in a Bad Boys movie, or a bunch of Looney Tunes-like scenarios with alligators. Right there. And yeah, and then it ends with, like, Mike letting his son escape and go off. Howard's wife reluctantly sparing him, and so Howard is cleared of the charges, and somehow these bad guys are trying to frame a dead guy, so their plan is shitty as hell anyway, so they'd be caught regardless. Like, the plot is just stupid, and honestly, when Howard dies in Bad Boys for Life, it comes off as a shock, an out-of-nowhere moment, and now somehow apparently we find out he was aware of his death. Because we need a plot device to make this damn movie. Yeah, and of course this won't be the ending because this is making money, so we'll get a Bad Boys 5, probably do some more stupid Fast and Furious shit now. Like, what's next? They're gonna go skiing off a fucking mountain and shooting a bunch of bad guys, or jumping off the fucking Grand Canyon, or launching cars off the fucking Grand Canyon next? Or just rehash the first two movies? Like, they'll probably make more of these movies because this is all Will and Martin have in their careers. This is the only moneymaker they're going to have at this rate. Like, yeah. So, yeah. Here's the thing, though. Unlike the last two I've talked about, Bad Boys Ride or Die was just unneeded and lame. And it's the least bad score I give it. The other two I give a 3. This one I gave a 4. So, this video is like 46 minutes long, guys, so here we go. In the end, guys, the winner of this would be Bad Boys Ride or Die. I don't like that movie, but I sure as shit would rather watch it over the last other two I've talked about, because at least this film is not some dark thriller, it's not some depressing funeral that spits in the face of fans. This, at least, this is just a lame cash grab. A lame cash grab sequel. If people like this movie each their own, in my opinion, I don't. Like, this is now they're just jumping the shark. Like, I can imagine how more stupid and over the top they're gonna get if they make more of these. So yeah, Bad Boys Ride or Die, I guess, would be the winner. Now, anyways, guys, I want to know in the comments down below what you guys think would be the least bad you'd rather watch. In the comments down below, which of these three you'd rather be forced to sit through if you were forced to sit through these. And until then, guys, that'll be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.